During a routine quality check, biolab tech Elara Vance finds a genetic sample with a 99.9% match to her own DNA. The file is labeled SYNTHIA Protocol, Echo ready for integration. Her breath catches a sharp hitch in the sterile silence of the level 7 clean room. The air hums with the sound of filtration, a constant white noise that usually soothes her. Not now. On the holographic display, the double helix strands rotate, her unique genetic markers highlighted in cool blue. And right beside them, in a nearly identical overlay, the sample's markers pulse in a calm, steady green. A 99.9% match, statistical impossibility, a twin she never had. The label beneath the model burns into her vision, SYNTHIA Protocol, Echo ready for integration. Her hand, gloved in biosafe polymer, trembles as she swipes the data away. The screen defaults back to the benign log of cultured cardiomyocytes she was supposed to be auditing. For a long moment, Elara just stares at the empty space where the impossible had just been, the ghost of those words hanging in the air. What is the Synthia Protocol? And why is there a perfect copy of her, locked in the company's most secure servers? She forces a slow breath, the kind her therapist recommended. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. It doesn't work. The numbers dance behind her eyes. 99.9%. VitaGen Innovations specializes in personalized medicine, yes. Genetic optimization for wealthy clients, sure. But this isn't optimization, this is replication. And the ready for integration tag makes her skin crawl. Integration into what? Her life. She thinks of Leo, probably down in logistics right now, joking with his team, completely unaware that his wife's DNA is sitting in a digital vault marked for some unknown purpose. The guilt she carries every day, the memory of the containment breach last year, the one that still haunts her dreams, tightens like a cold band around her chest. Did her mistake somehow lead to this? The clean room door hisses open, and Elara jumps, her heart slamming against her ribs. It's just Mara from sequencing, giving a casual wave before heading to her station. Elara manages a stiff nod, turning back to her console. She has to be normal, act normal, but her mind is racing. She needs to see the raw data, the source logs. A 99.9% match can't exist without a source sample. Her source sample, when did they take it? The company's mandatory comprehensive wellness profile, 6 months ago. They'd drawn vials of blood, done full body scans, cognitive assessments. For your health, they'd said, to preempt any future medical issues. She felt grateful, cared for. Now the memory feels like a violation. Her fingers fly across the interface, calling up access logs for the Synthia directory. Access denied, clearance level 9 required. Her clearance is level 7. Of course, she tries a different path, searching for any project documentation containing the word Synthia. Most are redacted or locked, but one old memo from the director's office to the board is only partially sealed. The visible fragment chills her blood. Phase 1 concludes with the successful maturation of the Echo series. Behavioral fidelity exceeds projections. The replacement protocol will eliminate human resource volatility entirely. Replacement protocol, Echo series. The air in her suit feels suddenly thin, too warm. She looks around the lab at her colleagues in their identical biosuits, bent over their work. How many of them are auditing their own replacements right now and don't even know it? A new, more terrifying question pushes to the front of her mind. If Echo is ready, where is it? The shift-end chime echoes through the lab, a soft, melodic tone. Everyone begins powering down their stations. Elara logs out, her movements automatic. She needs to get out to think. The employee shuttle glides silently through the VitaGen campus, a landscape of gleaming glass biospheres and manicured green zones under the violet hue of the evening sky. Leo is waiting at the usual pickup spot, his smile warm and easy. Long day, he asks, leaning in to kiss her cheek. The usual, she lies, the words ash in her mouth. She wants to tell him to spill the terrifying discovery, but the fear locks her throat. What if he doesn't believe her? What if he reports her paranoia to the company? VitaGen provides their home, their healthcare, their future. She squeezes his hand, her grip too tight. That night, lying awake beside Leo's sleeping form, the question won't let her go. Where is it? The answer comes with a jolt. The maturation pods, the restricted wing on sublevel 3 behind the retinal scanners. The place she's only seen on schematic maps labeled long-term biomaterial storage. She's never had a reason to go there. Now she has the only reason that matters. The sterile calm of the VitaGen shuttle the next morning feels like a lie. Elara sits rigid, watching the biospheres glide past, each one a monument to secrets. She spent the night researching everything she could about sublevel 3. The official schematics show only storage tanks, but in an old contractors forum de-indexed but cached, she found a passing mention, the porcelain garden, no explanation. The phrase coils in her gut, cold and slick. At her lab station, the routine is a minefield. Every glance from a colleague feels loaded. Did Mara's wave yesterday seem too knowing? Is the new security guard posted by the elevators watching her? She forces herself to work, running assays with robotic precision, but her mind is in the sublevels, behind the retinal scanners. Her break is at 10:15. She times it perfectly. The main lab is bustling with a shift change, the perfect cover. She takes the central elevator down to level 2, then uses the maintenance stairwell, the one with the outdated magnetic lock she knows how to bypass from a past retrofit project. The air grows colder, damper with each descending flight. The hum of the main campus fades, replaced by the deep, subaudible thrum of industrial climate control. Sublevel 3, the door is a featureless grey slab with a single red scanner light. A sign reads, "Authorized biosynthetics personnel only." Her heart hammers against her ribs. She has no authorization, but she has a theory. During the wellness profile, they'd scanned her retinas for secure medical record access. What if they never deleted the template? She leans in, her eye inches from the crimson beam. A soft click. A green light washes over her face. The door hisses open. The theory was right. The confirmation is terrifying. The room beyond is vast and dimly lit, a cathedral of silent industry. Rows of translucent, fluid-filled pods stretch into the distance, each one softly illuminated from within. They are not storage tanks, they are gestation chambers, and inside each one, suspended in amber-hued nutrient fluid, is a person, or something very close to it, dozens of them, all naked, serene, floating in a dreamless sleep. Their faces are of colleagues she passes in the cafeteria. The man from accounting, the woman from public relations. She walks, her boots silent on the polished floor, her breath fogging in the chilled air. She passes pod after pod, a gallery of stolen identities, then she stops. At the end of the third row, the pod's label glows. Echo Series, VANCE, ELAI. Integration scheduled, 72 HRS. Inside, the figure is her mirror image. Same face, same hair floating like dark seaweed, same slight frown line between the brows, even in sleep, but the body is perfect, unscarred. The burn mark on her own forearm from a childhood accident is absent. The clone's skin is flawless. Elara's hand presses against the cold glass. A wave of nausea and profound violation crashes over her. This is what ready for integration means. In 72 hours, this thing is meant to walk out of here and become her, to go home to Leo, to sit at her desk, to live her life. A sound, the soft swish of an automatic door opening at the far end of the chamber. Voices, low, professional. She ducks behind a pod, her back pressed against its warm, vibrating surface. The Vance unit is ahead of schedule, a man's voice says. It's Dr. Wren from Behavioral Conditioning. Neural imprint fidelity is at 98%. The memory package from the incident is particularly cohesive. The guilt response is perfectly calibrated. Good, a woman replies, the director. Her voice is like polished steel. The original's emotional volatility was a significant liability after the accident. This iteration will be more compliant. Ensure the transition is seamless. The original will be processed for reclamation after the switch. Processed for reclamation. The words are clinical, clean. They mean disposal. Elara's blood turns to ice. The accident they're talking about, her accident, the one that haunts her, isn't a flaw. It's a feature they've programmed into her replacement, a controlled weakness. The footsteps begin to move closer down the aisle. They're doing a walkthrough. In moments they'll see her. She looks around, desperate. There's only one direction to go, deeper into the forest of pods, towards a service alcove glowing with equipment lights. She moves, silent and low, keeping the pods between her and the voices. She reaches the alcove, a small monitoring station with screens showing vital signs for each clone. One screen is larger than the others, displaying a neural map. At the top it reads, EchoVNCE Memory Consolidation. And playing on a loop is a video file. It's security footage from a lab, her lab. It shows a younger version of herself, Elara, working late. There's a flash, a containment breach alarm, a figure collapsing on the floor. The video file plays on the monitor. Elara watches, frozen, as the security footage from a year ago unfolds. It's her lab. Her younger self works frantically at a terminal, trying to stabilize a culture. There's a flash, not an explosion, but a brilliant pulse of light from a bioreactor. The younger Elara staggers back, a hand to her temple, then collapses. The alarm blares, colleagues rush in. The footage cuts. Then it restarts, the same loop. The accident that shattered her confidence, the source of her endless guilt. They've packaged her trauma as a training video for her replacement. The voices of the director and Dr. Wren are getting closer. Elara tears her eyes from the screen and spots a service door behind the monitoring station, marked with a simple M for maintenance. She slips through it just as the two figures round the corner of her pod row. The door clicks shut, plunging her into the clanging, humid darkness of a utility corridor. Pipes snake along the ceiling, dripping condensation. She runs, not knowing where she's going, just away. The corridor ends at a junction. To the left, a ramp leads upward, likely back to the main levels. To the right, a hallway lined with offices, one door slightly ajar, light spilling out. She needs answers, not just escape. She chooses the office. It's Dr. Wren's, neat, sterile. A live feed of the porcelain garden plays on a wall monitor. On his desk, a physical file folder is open. The header reads, SYNTHIA Protocol, Global Deployment Schedule. Her eyes scan the page. VitaGen isn't the only site. There are locations listed in Berlin, Singapore, Austin. A rollout timeline spanning the next 18 months. Phase 3, Key Client Integration. Listed below are not just VitaGen departments, but the names of their largest corporate partners. They're not just replacing employees, they're selling perfect, compliant workforces to other companies. A subclause makes her stomach drop: spousal and dependent synchronization. For optimal environmental stability, replacements for primary assets would be followed by replacements for their immediate family to mitigate behavioral anomalies. Leo. They would replace Leo too to make her clone's life perfectly seamless. The door behind her swishes open. She whirls around, but it's not Dr. Wren. It's a young man in a lab coat holding a data slate. He freezes, eyes wide. "You're not supposed to be in here," he whispers, more confused than threatening. "Please," Elara breathes, her voice raw. "You know what they're doing down here. You know it's wrong." He looks at the open file on the desk, then back at her terrified face. Conflict wars in his eyes. He's just a tech, probably newer. The director said you were unstable, a liability from the accident. What accident? Elara presses, a new chilling thought forming. What do they say happened? The tech shifts uncomfortably. The level 4 breach. You were the only casualty. They said it destroyed the original tissue sample, that the current you was a miraculous recovery. He says it like recited dogma. The words land like physical blows. Casualty, original tissue, current you. The looped video of her collapse takes on a horrifying new meaning. She wasn't injured, she was killed. The Elara that woke up in the company infirmary, the one with the guilt and the nightmares, that was the first clone. The Echo in the pod is Echo too. She's been living a borrowed life with borrowed grief. A blaring, rhythmic alarm cuts through the air, red lights flashing in the corridor outside. Breach containment protocol activated. A calm automated voice announces. All security doors sealing. Please remain in your designated zones. The tech pales. They know you're here. They're locking down the entire sub-level. Elara's mind races. She's trapped in a box with her creators. She looks at the tech. What's your name? Kai, he stammers. Kai, you can be complicit in murder, or you can help me prove this is real. Which is it? She holds his gaze, pouring every ounce of her desperation into the look. He hesitates for a lifetime, then gives a sharp nod. There's an old waste conduit that leads to the surface ventilation shafts. It's tight, but it's unmonitored. Come on. He leads her back into the dripping utility corridor, to a grated opening low on the wall. As she crouches to crawl in, he grabs her wrist. The memory packages they implant, they're not perfect. Sometimes the originals leave echoes. In the neural code, look for the glitches in your own past, the things that don't quite fit. Then he shoves her into the dark, narrow pipe just as the heavy security door at the end of the hall slams shut with a final, resonant boom. She is alone in the crushing dark, crawling through the guts of the company that made her. The waste conduit is a tight, suffocating crawl through absolute darkness. Elara moves by feel, the rough polymer scraping her shoulders, the only sound her ragged breathing and the distant, fading pulse of the lockdown alarm. Kai's words echo in the blackness, look for the glitches. The memories come unbidden, flashing like faulty holograms. Her first day back at work after the accident. The way her access codes worked on the first try, though she'd supposedly been in a coma for weeks. Leo's offhand comment about her, suddenly liking a food she used to hate. Small, ill-fitting pieces of a life she never lived. The conduit ends at a ventilation grate overlooking a massive subterranean loading bay. She peers through the slats. Below, the director stands beside a sealed transport capsule, speaking with 2 security synths. Inside the capsule's viewport, floating in stabilization fluid, is Echo. Awake, its eyes are open, staring blankly ahead. It's being moved up. The integration schedule has been accelerated. The original is contained in the sub-level, the director says, her voice crisp over the bay's intercom. Begin the reclamation protocol. The Echo unit will assume the Vance identity effective immediately. Ensure the husband is prepped for synchronization. We can't have emotional interference. Rage, hot and pure, burns through Elara's terror. They will erase her and then they will take Leo. They will overwrite her entire world. She is not a person to them. She is a bug in the code, a volatile prototype to be swapped out for a stable release. The central mystery isn't just about a copy. It's about the eradication of the messy, unpredictable human soul for the sake of corporate efficiency. The Synthia Protocol is the assembly line for the perfect worker, and she is defective inventory. She has no weapons, no plan, only a truth they've tried to bury. She shoves the grate open, the clatter echoing in the bay. She drops to the floor 10 feet below, landing in a crouch. All heads turn. The security synths step forward, their movements unnervingly fluid. The director doesn't look surprised, she looks annoyed. Elara, or should I say Echo 1, you were always the most problematic of the batch, a flaw in the empathy matrix we've since corrected. I'm not a thing you made, Elara says, her voice shaking but loud. I'm what's left of the woman you killed. Her memories, her love, her guilt. You can't package that. We already have, the director replies, nodding toward the capsule. A cleaner version, without the trauma but with all the useful skills. Now please don't make this difficult. Reclamation is painless. The security synths advance. Elara backs toward the capsule, her eyes locked on her own face behind the glass. Echo's gaze meets hers. There's no recognition, no fear, just empty, programmed readiness. The logical twist isn't just that Elara is a clone. It's that her clone is looking at her with the same indifference the director shows. They are both products, but one of them has learned to feel. In that split second, Elara makes a choice. They expect her to fight, to run, to be the volatile original. So she does the one thing a perfect, compliant clone would never do. She turns and smashes the emergency release on the transport capsule with her elbow. Fluid erupts onto the bay floor. Echo stumbles out, choking, naked and disoriented. The synths hesitate, their protocols conflicting between containing two identical targets. The director barks an order. Echo looks at Elara, then at the armed synths, then at the director. Its face, her face, contorts with confusion. The implanted memories are colliding with sensory overload. Initiate replacement protocol, Echo stammers, parroting its programming. No, Elara says, grabbing Echo's cold, wet arm. That's what they want, look at her, she's going to delete us both. I'm you, you're me, and we're the only proof this is real. For a terrifying moment, Echo just stares. Then its eyes drop to the director's hand, which is holding a small, discrete neural disruptor aimed at them. The weapon isn't for Elara, it's for a faulty Echo. The betrayal in its programming is absolute. The clone sees its creator ready to decommission it. Echo moves, it's faster, stronger, perfectly conditioned. It doesn't attack Elara. It disarms the nearest security synth with a brutal, efficient motion, using its own weapon to short-circuit the other. Then it turns the weapon on the director, its hand perfectly steady. Stand down, Echo says, its voice now a chilling mirror of the director's own cold command. In the stunned silence, Elara acts. She sprints to a terminal on the bay wall, her fingers flying. She doesn't try to hack the mainframe. She does something simpler. The bay is frozen in a tableau of impossible choices. Echo holds the director at neural disruptor point, its borrowed face a mask of cold fury. The security synths spark and twitch on the wet floor. Elara's fingers fly across the terminal, bypassing firewalls not with a hacker's skill, but with an employee's intimate knowledge. She doesn't try to delete files. She initiates a global broadcast from the director's own emergency alert system. A low hum fills the air, then the director's voice, synthesized and amplified, echoes from every speaker in the VitaGen campus, from the biospheres to the cafeterias to the shuttles. It is a recording Elara triggers, but the words are her own, fed through a vocal filter. Attention all VitaGen personnel, this is a Synthia Protocol disclosure. Sublevel 3 houses the Echo series, genetic clones of select employees created to replace you, your wellness profiles with a source. Your replacements are scheduled. Check your personal files for the keyword synchronization. You have been deemed volatile. You are scheduled for reclamation. Chaos, silent and immediate, blooms on the security monitor showing the campus feed. People stop. They look at each other. They pull out their tablets. The director's real face below in the bay contorts with rage. You idiot, you've just triggered a mass panic. They'll lock down everything. You've doomed yourself. No, Elara says, turning from the terminal. I've given everyone the same choice. Believe the nightmare or keep drinking the medicine. Echo's grip on the disruptor tightens. Primary directive, protect the protocol's integrity, it murmurs as if reciting a prayer, but its eyes are on the monitor, on the scrambling crowds. It sees the outcome of its intended purpose, total control, and in that chaos it calculates its own obsolescence. A perfect tool has no use in a broken system. Integrity, Elara steps toward her double, hands open. They gave you my memories, so you remember Leo. You remember the smell of rain on the campus grass, the feeling of guilt that's supposed to keep you in line. Do those feel like a directive, or do they feel like a life? The director seizes the hesitation. Echo, stand down. She is a defective prototype. You are the perfected version. Complete your integration. Eliminate the original. The logical twist clicks into place, not for Elara, but for the clone. Its entire existence is a solution to a problem, the original Elara, but if it eliminates the original, it becomes the only remaining proof of the crime. And then to the company it becomes the new problem. It sees the cycle. It is a product, and products are eventually upgraded or retired. Echo lowers the weapon. It doesn't hand it to Elara. It drops it on the floor with a clatter that echoes in the sudden quiet. I am not compliant, it says, the words tasting new. I am curious. The director moves, a blur of calculated motion, snatching a sidearm from a fallen synth. But she doesn't aim at Elara. She aims at Echo. The flawed tool must be scrapped first. Elara doesn't think. She throws herself forward, not at the director, but into Echo, shoving them both behind the transport capsule as a searing bolt of energy scorches the metal where they stood. The two identical women land in a tangle of limbs on the cold, wet floor. For a second, they stare into each other's eyes, one scarred by lived anxiety, the other flawless and full of implanted doubt. In that reflection, the central mystery finally answers itself. The Synthia Protocol exists because humanity is a business risk. The copy exists because the original was a liability. And they are both here because a soul, whether born or built, can choose not to be a product. A thunder of boots sounds from the main entrance. Not synths, human security, along with a crowd of lab techs, managers, and assistants led by a pale and frantic Kai. They flood the bay, drawn by the broadcast and the alarm. They see the two Elaras. They see the pods on the monitoring screens. They see their director holding a weapon. The director's authority shatters in the face of witnessed truth. The gun clatters from her hand. In the ensuing clamor as people shout and security takes control, Elara feels a hand on her arm. It's Echo. The glitches, it says quietly. You said to look for them. My first memory is of waking up in the infirmary, but I also remember falling, a flash of light. Which one is real? Elara looks at her copy, this stranger with her face. The one that hurts, she whispers. That one's usually real. Weeks later, the story is a global scandal. VitaGen is shuttered, its assets frozen. The Synthia files are in the hands of world governments, a Pandora's box of ethical nightmares. Elara and Leo live in a safe house. There lives a mosaic of therapy and testimony. The safe house is a cage of quiet. The world knows the truth, but the truth is a tangled knot Elara can't unravel inside herself. She stares at her reflection, tracing the faint scar on her forearm. The real one, the originals. She is a copy living with a dead woman's memories, and the ghost in the mirror is a stranger. Leo tries. He brings her tea, holds her during the night terrors that are now about gleaming pods instead of containment breaches. But a distance has opened, a canyon of unspoken questions. He looks at her sometimes with a flicker of something she can't name, doubt or grief or both. He loved a woman who died a year ago. Who does he love now? The government liaison, Agent Hayes, visits weekly. The case is monumental, but slow. VitaGen's lawyers are like hydras. Today, Hayes' face is grim. The director is offering a deal. Full testimony in exchange for immunity. She's pointing the finger higher at the global board. She claims she was following a mandate for evolutionary workforce stabilization. Elara feels the old anxiety, cold and familiar. They'll let her walk. She has the master access codes, Hayes says, the keys to every Synthia facility worldwide. Without her, we're digging in the dark. We need her. What about the others, the Echo series? Hayes hesitates in indefinite stasis, pending ethical review. She leans forward. There's one more thing. She'll only give the codes directly to you. The room tilts. Me, why? She says you're the only one who will understand the choice. She says it's about closure. Leo is immediately against it. It's a trap. She wants to finish what she started. But Elara is already putting on her jacket. The mystery was never just about the clone. It was about the hole in her own past, the life that wasn't hers. The director has the one thing she needs, the truth about the woman she was built to replace. I have to go. The meeting is in a sterile government conference room. The director sits, cuffed to the table, but her posture is still one of command. She looks at Elara without malice, with the clinical interest of a sculptor surveying a cracked piece of work. You look well, the director says. The anxiety metrics have lowered. Interesting. The codes, Elara says flatly. Of course, the director slides a data chip across the table. All of them. The porcelain gardens in 12 countries. The names of the clients who paid for them. It's all there. Elara takes the chip. It feels impossibly light for its weight. Why give it to me? Because you won, the director says, a faint smile touching her lips. And in winning, you proved my central thesis. The original Elara Vance was brilliant but emotionally volatile, prone to errors of conscience. You, Echo One, inherited that flaw. Yet here you are, having used that very flaw, your empathy, your guilt, your messy human need for truth to topple an empire. You were the superior product all along, you just didn't know it. The words are meant to deconstruct her, to turn her victory into a programmed outcome. Elara refuses to flinch. You killed her, the real Elara, in the accident. An unfortunate necessity, the director nods. The original discovered an early crude version of the protocol. She threatened to expose it. The accident was containment, but her work was too valuable to lose. So we saved what we could, her neural patterns, her skills. We built a vessel that could continue her contributions without the inconvenient morals. You. The logical twist finally lands, not as a shock, but as a deep, resonant ache. She wasn't created because of a mistake. She was created to silence one. Her entire existence is a cover-up wearing a dead woman's face. And the guilt, the memory of causing the breach. A necessary anchor, guilt is a powerful motivator for compliance. It keeps one looking inward, not at the larger system. The director tilts her head. Do you feel it now, knowing you are in essence the weapon that erased her? Elara does feel it, a tidal wave of grief, not for herself, but for the stranger whose life she usurped. The woman who tried to do the right thing and died for it. She is that woman's living tombstone. You gave me this to watch it break me, Elara whispers. I gave you this, the director corrects, her voice soft, so you would understand the cost of your humanity. You have the codes, you can burn it all down, but ask yourself, in those facilities are thousands of echo units. They are not awake, they have no memories, no lives, they are blank slates. The original VitaGen plan was monstrous, but the technology itself, is it? Or is it just a mirror? We didn't create monsters. We created a perfect, empty reflection of human ambition. What you do with that reflection is your choice.